All right, here you go.
Okay, great.
And so excited to have Jordan here with us today. Linka's gone. Okay, so most of you, I think those of you who are in the Startup Weekend Singapore community, especially, you'll be familiar with Jordan. He's a super mentor. He's worked with many of the winning teams from the past years. And he's also mentoring with us later today. But right now, and I know a lot of you were asking when's the pitch session going to start. Starting now, Jordan's going to take you through. I think he has helped a lot of teams refine their pitches in past years. And he really knows how to help you craft that messaging, help you concise what you want to say, and make sure that you're putting out the right kind of information, both in your message as well as on your decks. So I'm so excited to have Jordan here with us this morning, this afternoon now. But Jordan, stage is yours. Uh,
Great. I'm going to start sharing my slides now.
yeah.
So we go to the Chrome tab that I'm going to share, and right here it is, and I'm sharing it. Can everybody see
And
that?
looks good to go.
Great. So I I got into doing this session because I went to Joyce and I said, listen, we've spent a lot of time over the years talking about pitches with people in the mentoring sessions, and seeing where people have listened and they've been fantastic and where they haven't and they've not been so great. So I said, you know what? I said, I'd like to do a session called Let's Be Pitch Perfect.
Yeah.
It was a joke. I'm a dad. I'm allowed dad jokes. Okay. Uh, okay.
No,
So
but you want them to be pitch perfect.
right.
It's
We want you,
true.
we want this pitch to be perfect for you guys. We want you to nail it. Okay. This is
Okay.
this is this is what we're going for and where we're shooting. Okay. Is for
All
you
right.
guys to be pitch perfect.
Jordan, I'm
So
just gonna tell you, you can do the present mode if that's easier, but otherwise it's all yours. All right. I'm gonna
great.
give the
I
stage to you.
great. So here we are. So let's be pitch perfect, folks. Let's talk about what will make for a perfect pitch. Steve Jobs, everybody knows him, co-founder of Apple Computer, the man who was kicked out of Apple the year before I joined, the man who joined back and helped save Apple while I was still there. Steve was really did not like PowerPoint. He really did not like what he saw that it did, and he had a very, very, very harsh approach to things, which was you don't need PowerPoint if you know what you're talking about. But I think that actually, and I think that there's really a different way to tell this. If you know the story, if you can tell the story, then you don't need a deck. What you're doing when you pitch is you're telling a story. You're helping people buy into a vision of the future you have. So make this a story. Now, how do you get a good story? Well, excuse me. We seem to. Here's an example of a great story. This is Steve Jobs. It's the iPhone intro. It's available on YouTube. The link is here, so you can copy it down. It's a bit.ly link, so you just need to get 3OS, capital M, capital I, capital C, capital M. That'll take you to it. I recommend you watch this to see an example of superlative storytelling. But storytelling is only part of it. You need to know what is the story you want to tell. And how do you get a great story? You start by working backwards. Amazon has this great technique that they call working backwards. When someone is thinking about and pitching a new initiative, a new product, a new area, what do? They imagine the desired end state. And then they write a press release for that product launch. Example, there's a link here with an example of how this works. There's a great book, which you don't have time to read in this weekend, but I highly recommend. Imagine your desired end state. Write the press release for your product launch, and then use that to pull together a story that you're going to tell about your product. That's right. Now tell me your story. What is the story you have to tell me? Another way to do this is just pick up an everyday product that you know, that you love, and tell the story of it if it didn't exist. So, what's the best structure for your story? What's going to be the most effective? Well, the first thing is, what's the problem? Imagine, the story of a Cinderella. Once upon a time, there was a little girl who had evil stepmother and stepsisters. That's the problem. Once upon a time. Why does it matter? Why do we care about Cinderella? So tell me the story of the problem. Tell me why it doesn't matter. Tell me about a day in the life of this person. What's the problem? Why does the problem matter? Illustrate it. Call it out. Make it alive. Now, here's the thing. You've got to care about this person. You've got to care about that problem. Otherwise, it's not going to be real. This is one of the reasons that mission-based companies are easy in many ways to tell a story about. Now tell me in this story, what's your solution? Cinderella. The fairy godmother comes to her. How does it solve her problem? Well, she helps her to attend the ball. So, what's your solution? Tell me the story of your solution. How does it solve the problem that you raised earlier? Again, do you care about this? Because if you don't care about, I guarantee the judges are not going to care about it. This is something that everyone can do. They can tell the story of a problem, and they can tell the story of a solution. I frequently do this in mentoring sessions. I spend about 5-10 minutes. I'm listening to them. I hear them stumbling around. And then I just try to pull the three threads together and I retell their story to them. They take it, they run with it, they go. Now, here's an intermission as we talk about things. Your deck isn't the story, it's the illustrations to your story. Together, you plus the illustrations tell the story. Avoid the wordy, crowded deck. You want neat, you want clean, you want not a lot up there. Okay? So the deck is illustration. Going back to the Steve Jobs intro of the iPhone. Look at how few words were there. Look at how few things are visible. Look at how few slides there are. Now you've got to convince me. Now you're going to say to sell me on it. In the United States, people from the state of Missouri have a reputation for being very skeptical. In fact, the state motto is the show me state. So imagine right now that all your judges are from Missouri. They're going to need to be convinced. They want you to show you the data. They want you to prove that this is feasible. And also, why should I, as a judge, believe you? Tell me, convince me. But realize you've got like 5 minutes to do this. So you can't spend a lot of time on it. You've got to really have things finely tuned and focused and ready to deliver. Finally, tell me, what's the end state? Why would this be a good thing? We're going to build a great business. And here's where I go a little bit. The right end state for every business is not a $1 billion IPO. Now, if you're trying to get venture capital and you're not going to have a $1 billion IPO, they may not fund you. You may need to bootstrap, but it's really good for you to understand what's the end state. What is going to change about the world? Go back. There was a problem. You have the solution to that problem. You've convinced me it's feasible. What is the world going to look like? How will it be better when we reach that end state? Is this making sense to people? Okay, I like that heart. That helps me. Hearts help me. Thumbs up help me. Thank you, people. Great. The primary goal of this talk, this storytelling, is to get them to believe in you and your data. There's a phrase from Hawaii. It's a phrase that describes a practice. It's called talk story. Talk story takes you back to that moment in time, helps you see it, or takes you to a future place. And when you do that, you actually believe you're there. So the primary goal of your talk is to get them to believe in you and your idea. If they believe in you, if they believe in your idea, they believe in your solution to the problem, then they're going to be on board. Story writers have this concept called the willing suspension of disbelief. One of the things you want to do is get these people to willingly suspend their disbelief. The people coming in, they're skeptical. They're by nature people that aren't going to believe. So help them to believe. Get them to that place where they believe you. Okay? A few pointers to help you along the way. I'm a computer scientist. What?
I also want to let you know your slides have gone missing.
Oh no, when did they go missing?
Just I think just a while back.
Okay, well then let me see what we've got going on here and why that's the case.
I think you stopped screen share.
I didn't, but it appears that we have. So here we're back with this.
Yeah,
Can you see them again?
Yes.
Yeah, I did not stop sharing, but somehow they auto share.
Okay.
So here's the slide you saw. What's the end state? Why would this be a good thing? Primary goal of your talk is to get them to believe in you and your idea. Now, here's the thing, guys. You notice my slides went by, but you were still hearing my story. A few pointers to help you out here, to help you prep. Now, I'm a software engineer by training, so I start counting from 0. Okay? So my first point is do it in 7. Do it in 7 slides or less. Now, here's the thing. If you've got 5 minutes and you've got 7 slides, that means you have less than a minute per slide. You need to be tight. You need to be concise. You need to be focused. You cannot have a slide that's jammed with text. You can't have a slide that doesn't matter. you're all going to have an intro slide that says what the team is. Team food or company food. Do you know how many times I see that slide completely wasted because you don't do anything else with it? And realize that's the slide that's going to be up while you're getting up on stage. If things are well run, and Joyce and company run things well, that slide should be up and visible while you're walking on the stage. It's a preview of coming attractions. It's your opportunity to frame things. So what's your one sentence description that captures what you're proposing? Make sure it's there. Make sure that it's well framed. And then go use the rest of the space you have, the time you have, very effectively in a very focused manner. I talked about earlier. Tell me what the problem is. Why is this a problem? Why is this painful? Why should I care about it? Okay? Feel that pain. And in fact, make me a little church jerky. Twist the knife. Tell me about the poor kids that are walking to school in the snow, barefoot, uphill both directions, and twist that knife in and make me care about them, care deeply about them. But also, in the context of this, be nice. Help people understand that you care. Don't come across as an asshole. In all the interactions here, be polite, be caring, all of that. Be honest. The people you're talking to, that you're pitching, these judges, these VCs, investors, mentors, this isn't our first rodeo. We have very well attuned BS detectors. Don't try to pull the wool over our eyes. Don't try to convince us that you know something you don't. If I ask a question and you don't know the answer, say, you know what? I hadn't thought about that. That's a really good question. And I need to think about that before I can respond. Be honest, be transparent. Don't try to pull the wool over my eyes. You will stand out to the degree that you are passionate about what is here. If you don't care about this, why should I care? You're trying to transition your care about things to me. Kind of being related to being honest and direct is be your own biggest critic. If there's something that's really a big problem or a big issue, and face it head on. Don't pretend that it doesn't exist. Do always address any elephants that are in the room. Come on, straight forth. Hit me with it. That will gain you credibility. And finally, it comes back to that desired end state. It talks about the future. How is the world going to be better when you have been successful? How long is it going to take to get there? So what should be the elements in this pitch deck, in this story that you're telling? Okay. What should be there? That intro. The intro is your base slide. That's the one that has your company name on it and a tagline. This is actually, in some ways, the most valuable real estate you have because it's free real estate. It doesn't count against who you are in terms of your timing. You're going to need a strong hook. You're going to need something that's going to pull me in. So get me there. What is the hook? This is one way you could approach it, but let me talk about another way. Hey, my name's Jordan. Have you ever considered the problem of finding misplaced things? How many times have you spent minutes, even hours, finding that important thing, that book, your keys, your backpack, your laptop that you've misplaced? Wouldn't it be great if you could find it almost instantaneously? Now, I have just given you the problem statement and the solution for AirTags. This is actually an exercise that can really help you. Think of a product you know that you use, that you love, and create a problem statement and the solution for it. Don't you hate it when you need a caffeine hit and you can't get it? Or if you get it, it tastes horrible? And you really don't know when you walk into that cafe whether it's going to be good or bad. Wouldn't it be great if wherever you went, you could get a rock solid caffeine hit? What did I just describe? Just describe Starbucks to you. Try it, practice it. These are some phrases that can be really helpful to you. This is a big opportunity. Our target market. We're going to acquire customers. We make money. That's the important money. How are you going to make money? Even if this is for social good, how are you going to do it in a self-sustaining method? Make me believe it. Know who your key competition is. And don't tell me that it's nobody. And oh, please, when you get to your key competition, don't show me a comparative matrix that has checkboxes in every category for you, but nobody else has all the checkboxes. I don't believe it. We're better because our team is. What we've done so far is. These are prompts. Think of these as the prompts that you need to answer. Why are we better? Now, I'm going to tell you our team is. Don't spend a lot on this. You are not people that have a major track record in launching ventures. You're not serial entrepreneurs yet. I frankly don't care about your team. Don't spend a lot of time on it. I've seen teams spend over half of their time describing each person on the team and why they're important, and lose because they didn't tell me about the problem or the solution or make me care about it. Finally, you need a call to action. What is it that you want? Do you want me to invest? Do you want me to introduce you? What is the call to action? And be very specific. And make sure that it's related back to how do we get to that desired end state, to that future state that we'll be in. I want to talk about some resources for helping you build beautiful decks. The first one is I want to give you another talk. Last startup weekend, I got interviewed about pitch and pitch perfect, which is kind of where this came from. I went back, I looked at the video. They did a great job of editing, got rid of all the stupid things I said, left all the good things. Highly recommend it. Go watch it. Watch it. Watch the Steve Jobs intro. I think they'll help you kind of trying to condense this down, give you in a way that you can access it when you want. Demonstrations are great. They're fantastic if they work. The thing about demonstrations is they've got to be rock solid. They have got to be something that works, and they've got to be tight. Remember, you're going to have 5 minutes here. You don't have a lot of time. You know what? You want your artwork to look clean. And if you guys are anything like me, you're not artists. You're not graphic designers. Your stuff is going to look crappy. And you don't want to spend a lot of time perfecting it. You want to stand on the shoulders of someone great who's already built a lot of things. There's a lot of great icons out there. There's a lot of great imagery, vector artwork that you can use. Leverage it. Take advantage of it. Take advantage of stock images. Googling for a couple of minutes to find a great image is a great way to put things together. But going to a stock image place and using a very refined search to find it is an even better way. Let's talk a bit about how do you present to the judges. Remember, going back to the beginning, it's a story. So tell the story. How do you become a good storyteller? By telling the story again and again. A good storyteller will never tell a story the same way twice. But they will have the same core message. So, first off, you've got to practice. You're only going to be pitch perfect if you've practiced. And I'm not talking one time. I'm not talking 2 times. I'm talking this is running in your brain. You're practicing it. You're working it. This also means you're not reading a script. You're not reading the slides. At most, your slides should be cue cards that prompt you. Tied to this, don't repeat what's on that slide. Don't read what's on that slide. That slide is, your model is, it's an illustration to a story. The words you're speaking, that's the story. What's on the slide illustrates it. It backs it up. It validates it. If I'm reading the story of Winnie the Pooh with the original version by A.A. Milne with the illustrations, I read A.A. Milne's description of Winnie the Pooh and Eeyore. And then I flip and I see the illustration. And all of a sudden, my mental image of Eeyore, my mental image of Pooh and their relationship is reinforced. But if I had gone and put a whole bunch of text into the illustration, I would have undercut. I'd just be repeating myself. You need to be light. You need to be clean. Don't throw too much up there. This is essentialism at its best. Be comfortable. Be comfortable enough that you're able to lean in. You're able to look them in the eye. You're able to talk to them. This is why you don't want to be reading a script. Because if you're reading a script, you can't make eye contact. If you're glancing down at your index cards that you've written your talk out on, you're not going to be making eye contact. Make those slides your prompt, make them your cues, but you have got to be the actor who is hitting their mark every step of the way. And it's got to be tight. It's got to be focused, short and sweet. You've got 5 minutes. You've got 7 slides. The first slide is a gimme. You're basically going to pop off of that in a couple of seconds, or you should. That means you've got 6 slides that you're going to be working with, that you're going to be presenting your material around. Make them count. Target no more than 40 seconds per slide. That's what you got to go with. Otherwise, you're going to be in bad place. You're going to hear that bell cutting you off. The pitch is not something that you can leave to the last minute and throw together. You need to be thinking about it. You need to be working on it. It needs to be all there. As I've said again and again here, you're telling a story. You're telling a story that's going to hit people in the face, that's going to grab their attention, that's going to make them sit up and take notice. That is critical. And I would argue very much one person speaks. Don't try to shift. A shift of speaker, a shift of the storyteller undercuts you. And that's the end. Let's take any questions people have.
Thank you so much, Jordan. There are actually a couple of questions on the site, but I'm just gonna.
Oh, yeah, I can see them. I can see them. I'll pull them up now. Sorry, I'm getting used to this whole thing.
From Call says super presentation. Raihan asks, what kind of data can we use to convince? So if they're using data on their slides, what sort of data should they be using?
So the more authoritative, the better. This is where, I hate fallacious logical reasoning, but the fact is this is an emotional kind of thing, and appeal to authority is a big thing. If you know what is the authority these people listen to, then tailor around that. And this is a key thing. Cover letters that go with resumes. In the real world, you're supposed to write the cover letter for every person you send it to, and it's supposed to be tailored. We don't do that. We cut and paste a few things and we change them. But when you're thinking about a pitch, think about the audience and what is authority to them. What is authoritative? What will convince them? There are some people who are going to look at government stats, and that's going to be what they believe in. Some people are looking for an emotional punch in the gut. Figure out what it is and how it's going to convey. I can't tell you exactly what that is. Sometimes it's going to be that appeal to personal experience. What did I go through? What have you gone through? Okay.
And for those of you in the audience, if you have questions, keep it coming. You are welcome to turn on your cams and mics to ask your questions directly to Jordan.
I love that. I love that. Please do that.
Yeah. Cole says he loved the reality check about the team not being super duper important during the pitch. I think
it's not important. Yeah. It's not important at all. And the fact is if what matters is that person on stage convinces them.
Mm-hmm.
That's what matters. That's the only part of your team that matters at that moment, and the artifacts that you've created. Okay.
And Galadriel asks, how do I know what is the best illustration to represent my core message in my slides?
That's a hard one. Figure out the story. So did is it Shepard? I think Shepard did the classic Winnie the Pooh illustrations. He had the book. He had Malane's words before he wrote the illustrations. Know the story before you put the illustrations together with it. Okay?
And
Stephen Jobs. So if you go and look at, the story that Steve Jobs wanted to tell about the iPhone was about a wide format iPod, a web browser. These are two of the things. So his illustrations was he had a picture of an iPod that had a wider format. It was an illustration. He had a picture of a web browser, Safari icon. He had another one, I can't remember what it was. But those three were the illustrations to that story. They were the things that stuck in people's minds. People knew that this was going to have the experience of an iPod plus the experience of web browsing. Now I'm like completely. Some of you probably don't even remember what an iPod was because it's always been phones to you that is where you've gotten your music. Let's see here. I'm just looking down here. Great. Other questions, please.
Any other questions? This is your best chance to ask Jordan because all of you are trying to build your pitches towards your finals and trying to make it to top 12. So this is your best opportunity. I know you guys just started working on your ideas. A lot of you didn't get much sleep last night, but if you really started building your decks, you really started to look at what sort of idea you want to build. I think take the opportunity to ask Jordan and figure out how best you can craft your pitch. You only have 3 minutes for your video pitch, so it's a lot of information that you want to squeeze in 3 minutes. So, okay, Amber asks, if we try and tell a story, how do we know that we haven't gone too anecdotal? How do they know that they're not telling grandmother stories?
Yeah. Does it move you? If you think about the anecdotal classic grandmother story, auntie uncle story, do you get emotionally moved by it? Do you get engaged? You're like, come on, just get through it, okay? That's so ask yourself, is that what's happening? I think we all know when we're telling a grandmother story, when we're telling an auntie or an uncle story, we're kind of blathering, we're not direct, we're not structured. It is not once upon a time. It's well, you remember back a lot of years ago, it doesn't have that emotional force.
And another one of the questions that Cole asks is, should the team leader always pitch so that the pitch would be most convincing? And I'm assuming in this case, the team leader is the one that came up with the idea.
It's the person who can tell the story the best. Now, if your team leader is the one who pulled this group together, they've convinced a group of people to believe in this. But in the course of that, you may have picked up a better storyteller. Someone who's more charismatic, that's more pick the person that's the best to tell the story. The person who can articulate it the most. They can be the most direct.
Essentially the person that can help you get to the finals.
Exactly. And that
Yeah. And any more questions? Anyone has their questions about their own pitches, for example, that they want to check in with Jordan on? You can still catch Jordan later on, but if you have any questions pertaining to pitch, feel free to ask them now. You've got him here on stage with you, so by all means, use this opportunity to ask whatever you want to know. And you're totally welcome to just turn on your cam and mics to ask us. So it's cool. You don't have to use the chat. Jody asks, what if What if I don't have a future global plan for my product or service as of yes? I guess I mean she probably means they don't know how they're gonna scale it up yet. Will my pitch be less convincing?
I don't think so. You know, I, you know, okay. There are certain classes of VC who are only going to be interested if you tell them the story of the huge payout, which with a business with global reach and such. That doesn't mean it's not a viable business idea. It doesn't mean that it's not something that can't be successful. But know your audience. If these are the kind of people that you would think about. Great question. Any example slide decks you would recommend? You know what, Joy, we need to talk about, Joyce, we need to talk about this. Let's start collecting great pitches and build a library that we can point people at. Because I could think of a few that have been great ones from the past, but we don't have them. We don't have them available. And your pitch, remember, you're 5 minutes here. You're not the 41 to 2 hours presentation at a VC's office.
Mm-hmm.
This is more of an elevator pitch that has something to back it up. And here's the thing, you should be able to take what you have here and condense it down and, you know, kind of distill it into that elevator pitch that you can deliver in 30 seconds. You know, by throwing away, you know, a lot of the illustration and the kind of stuff around it.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know what, DP, you made us aware. We don't have this. We need to work on this. You know, I think we'll just start building a library with the permission of people that will be a collection of great decks. And here's the thing, sometimes these aren't the ones that got to the finals.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's one of the important, we have some people who've told some really compelling stories, but the judges weren't receptive for whatever reason. Okay. And I think that that's a key thing to understand is go and look at how many times Airbnb was pitched before it finally got seed funding. Expect that you're gonna get rejected. The environment that you have in a startup weekend is, to be honest, a little bit artificial. It's a great training ground, it's a great prep ground, but it's the it's the one shot at each level of the thing, no chance to incorporate feedback and shape your message and to work with it. I mean, that's why we do the mentoring sessions, and that's why I tend to be. I'm known for being, I believe, helpful, but also brutal in my mentoring sessions, because I will just tell people that it's not working, you know, very, very quickly, you know, and do that.
And I think earlier also Jordan shared the pitch deck overview, and I think that's a very, you know, concise way to be able to just put like one slide on each of this. So you have your intro, you have your problem, your solution, your market potential, and so on and so forth. And that actually is a very good sort of like, I guess, starter kit for you. If you, I don't know, Jordan, what do you think about? Have you seen Guy Kawasaki's like template?
I think Guy's a great storyteller. Guy, I mean, I love Guy. I've known Guy. I mean, Guy hired me into Apple in 1986. I know Guy. Guy's a fantastic storyteller.
Oh
Guy's
yeah,
from
you guys
Hawaii,
were at the
right?
same company.
Right.
Yeah.
We were at Apple at the same time.
Yeah, you're right.
And Guy is from Hawaii, and he, talk story is part of it's in his DNA. You know, telling stories. You read his book; it's a lot of storytelling that he does in his book. So Hassan asks, what if my English isn't good? Will it affect the judging? If you can't connect and communicate to the judges, it will affect the judging. Yes. Now, you're making the assumption that the judges all speak English. If we're doing this in Jakarta, it's going to be in Bahasa Indonesia. That's going to change the game. If you drop me, Hassan, if we drop me into the equivalent to Startup X in Jakarta, I'm not going to go anywhere with it. But yes, your ability to communicate and connect, and for it to be natural, and everything. Yes, those of you who English is not a native language, trying to reach an audience that is dominated by people who are Anglophones is going to be challenging. Let's not pull any punches here. Okay. Team is from 5 different countries. When it comes to customers, do you recommend to start one country? You know what? I believe you solve the tightest space that you can solve. Trying to launch simultaneously in 5 countries is not going to be great. Now, which one is the best country? Have those conversations, figure that out. And that's a great roadmap of, hey, we're launching in Singapore, and this is why we're launching in Singapore. And then our plan is, in this order, to today, based on what we know, to tackle things this way and to launch across 5 countries over the course of the next 24 months.
And someone asks, H asks, in terms of percentage, how much time should I spend on problem versus solution when I am pitching?
I would say you've got to convince me of the problem. Is it really a problem? Let's take. We're going to do it. We're going to do one right here for something and it's something I already did. The ability to conveniently get a caffeine hit when you need it, and it to be a quality caffeine hit, is a universal problem. We've all experienced it. We've all experienced that cafe that has crappy coffee. We've all experienced that fact that you can't find it when you need to get going. Our solution, Starbucks, a universal brand of coffee that is everywhere when you need it, when you want it. That's, I think I spent about, but then I'm going to talk about, we're going to have the finest beans from the finest, how are we going to make sure? Here's the problems that people have. It's not convenient. It's not high quality. So then, a problem statement like, it's not convenient, gets turned into, we are going to ensure that we have a presence on every corner of an intersection. Quality. Well, we're going to source the finest Arabica beans. So I would say that it's probably a 1 to 3, 1 to 2.
So definitely focus on being able to translate what that problem you're trying to solve is, so that the judges can get a sense of why you're so passionate about wanting to do this, right?
Yeah. The thing is your problem statement can be very tight, as long as you are pulling the judges along, as long as they engage with it. You don't have to go down into the stats. Well, in our survey of the Singaporean market, we found that the average distance from a coffee consumer to a coffee shop is, you don't need to do that. You just need to be able to convince them that lack of convenient caffeine is a problem for them.